My dad was such a kind man, but he was also a scared man. And witnessing that up close has shown me what happens when you let fear run your life. Losing my dad has forced me to look honestly at what happens when we live carefully instead of truthfully. So yeah, my dad was a very shy, quiet man, but from the stories that he did tell me, he definitely had some gusto in him. What amazes me is that he used to go potholing, and if you do not know what this is, it involves you crawling on your body in very narrow tunnels through caves in the dark. That's anxiety producing stuff, but he did it, he enjoyed it, and then he would always go down the pub afterwards with his friends to have a well-deserved pint. So my dad was born just after the Second World War, and his dad, my granddad, actually took his life when my dad was only 7, because he was struggling with a lot of PTSD from the war. He just couldn't take it anymore. This left my dad's mom in a lot of financial hardship, and she was very unloving to my dad. He had a very difficult childhood. Still, he was an amazing father to me. And when I was born, I know that he was so proud to have a daughter. He didn't always find it the easiest to say, "I love you." Like, I didn't hear those words a lot, but he really showed it in his actions. One of the biggest gifts that my dad ever gave me was music. I think his record collection is still one of the coolest ones that I've ever seen. And he encouraged me to be really creative through music. So here's a funny story about me and my dad. When I was younger, I had been playing the piano already. I started when I was 5 and I loved it. And I think it must have been around about the age of 9, 10 that I wanted to play a second instrument. And I said, "Dad, I want to play the violin." And you could just see his face. He was like, that's going to be very loud. How about you choose something different? He walked upstairs and he came back down with this encyclopedia of music, and on every page was a different instrument. And he said, "Whatever page this book opens on is the instrument that you're going to play." And guess what? It landed on the drum kit. Probably one of the loudest musical instruments in the book, but it was fate. He said it, I got it, and I've played the drums ever since, and it's brought me so much joy, so much fun. I love rock and roll. This story of the pages just landing randomly on the drums does make me think a bit deeper about life and my dad. How much should we leave our lives up to fate? I mean, it can be very exciting for us to go with the flow and see where God takes us. But I firmly believe that it's also our responsibility to make decisions and ask for what we want. We need to claim the opportunities that we're given. And Dad really struggled with that. One of my dad's biggest regrets involves him and a one-way ticket. In his 20s, he and his friends decided to leave the UK and go to Australia to start a new life. But friend by friend, they started to lose the courage. And one by one, they started to back out. My dad still had his ticket, but at the last minute, he decided not to go. If I'm speaking frankly, he chose familiarity and the safety of what he already knew instead of possibility. And I heard him many times throughout my childhood and adult life about how much he regretted that decision. And this is what fear of failure actually looks like for most of us. It's about us wanting to do something, but never taking the leap, never boarding that plane, so to speak. When we keep living for others, being sensible, postponing our joy, saying, one day, we are lying to ourselves. Dad's death has really reminded me that dreams never disappear, but our chance to live them eventually does. So what is the thing that you are postponing because you are scared to fail? My dad was also an incredible photographic printer. Artists would come to him and he would print their works in the darkroom. He had such an amazing eye for detail. He knew how to get the colors exactly right. And he was popular. The artists really came to him, and even some of his work got shown in the Tate. I remember he was so happy about that. But he definitely downplayed his talent and gifts. And in his personal life, that really showed. Like, he was also a great photographer, a great painter, but he rarely allowed himself to take photos or draw pictures. We actually do not have many family photos because he just didn't do it outside of work. And this really matters because I know some of you who are watching are doing exactly the same thing. You have gifts, you have depth, you really have something real and magnificent to offer, but you are keeping it small because it feels safer. My dad really spent a lot of his life trying to not upset other people. I saw him consistently trying to be good, responsible, acceptable, and I also saw it in his relationship with my mum. She would demand a lot of things and he would just bend backwards even if it really was not aligned with him. And because he was suppressing who he really was, I also saw him struggle a lot with anxiety, low mood, depression. He told me many times throughout his life that he wished that he could just forget everything that had ever happened to him. And eventually, this is what happened. In 2022, he was diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's. Yeah, and before the diagnosis, the signs were definitely there. I remember we were in the car together and he started driving down one-way streets the wrong way. He couldn't remember how to spell words. Then it got worse. He started leaving the shower on. He didn't know how to load the dishwasher. That was very complicated for him. And if we were watching just an episode on TV together, he couldn't follow it. Watching my dad lose his memory, lose himself, has really woken me up to the cost of living in fear and not wanting to be you. It was very difficult to see such a magical person not be themselves, not want to be themselves, to just hide all of that beautiful light for fear of getting things wrong or upsetting people, not making the right decisions. It was tough. I think, what I've seen in my parents really fuels my own work, because I have seen two people live in fear and stay in safety their whole lives. I've seen the anxiety, I've seen the people pleasing, I've seen the fear of getting it wrong. And that is why I'm so passionate about recognizing and transforming these patterns in the hypnotherapy work that I do. Honestly, I would rather completely screw up my life in public than die knowing that I just played small my whole life. This is why, even at the age of 41, that I'm determined to keep rebuilding my life, keep trying, keep exploring, keep experimenting. That's why I'm here on YouTube. I really want to flip society's perception of failure so that you can seize the full capacity of your life. Because as you can see, I've seen the cost of what being sensible is. My dad suffered because he did not fully choose himself. And I want to share with you what that has taught me. Number one, regret hurts way more than failure. If you launched a business and it flops, yeah, it sucks. But you learn, you pivot, and what you create next is going to be even better for others and even better for yourself. Because if you never launch it and you carry that with you, that hurts more. I want you to tell me, what is one risk that you are going to take in the upcoming year, knowing it might fail, but knowing that regret is going to hurt even more? Tell me in the comments, because this is the first step in changing your path ahead. Lesson 2, safety isn't safe. My dad did what we are all told to do. Don't rock the boat. Keep your head down. And yes, I am so grateful for my dad, because he did his absolute best to try and provide for me and mum. He did what he did, and he did it in the best way that he could. But you know what? There were definitely ups and downs. And if risks are going to come anyway, which they will, I would rather take the risk that give me a shot at the life that I aspire to, that I claim, that I want to live. Every day I think about how I want to live my life, and I take the action to do it. And lesson 3 is, don't wait until it's time. There is no right time. The only time is now. My dad kept Australia in his one-day box. He never made it there. And I know that you probably have your own versions of one day. You're saying, I'll start when the kids are older. I'll change careers when things calm down. I'll leave when it gets really bad. If you are staying in a life that looks fine but feels empty, if you're telling yourself, one day later when it feels safer, please hear this. Being sensible is not the same as being alive. Being kind does not mean abandoning yourself. And failing at something that you really care about is far from a tragedy. The tragedy is never choosing. So let me ask you this. Where are you living my dad's story? I love my dad so much, and I'm so grateful that he chose to be my dad. He has taught me so much, not in the ways that we sometimes expect, right? I think many of us think that our parents are going to be our role models in like a certain way, but dad has been an amazing role model for me. I love him so much Thank you, Dad. Yeah, I know that he's resting in peace, and I am so happy that he can now rest in peace. Also, I think that my dad's soul really knew when to leave, because my dad died while I was still in China. I tried to get back as soon as possible when we knew that he was going. I didn't make it in time. He died while I was on the plane still. But I think my dad really knew to go when he did, so that this new life that I am building now, I can do it with full support from his spirit in heaven. I really know that he has got my back. There's been a lot. There were times where he really questioned my decisions, but I know that whatever I was doing, he supported me. Yeah. I really want to make this video before this year wraps up to honor my dad and celebrate the path that I am on too. I know he's got my back. Yeah, he was a good dad. Up next, I'm going to explore why success can feel more threatening than failure, and how that fear is quietly shaping your life. If my dad's story has resonated with you and you are ready to move forward even more, then that video is definitely going to be for you. And remember, whatever you have been through, you have not failed. You've been forged.